Okay, so welcome to the Node.js package maintenance team meeting for June 16th, 2020. We'll follow the issue which was tagged in the issue that was generated in the repo. Before we get started, does anybody have any announcements that they'd like to share? I guess one thing, and maybe we're skipping a little ahead, but it would be good to let people know that we're planning a session at the Collaborator Summit. I haven't looked at the schedule to see exactly when it is, but I think the schedule is out. And so if people are interested, it would be a great place and time to come and learn a little bit more about the work of this group. Okay, so let's move on to the issues which were tagged for the agenda. The first one is number 368, PKGS housekeeping authors license files maintenance issues 368. Dominicus, you opened that one?
Yeah, we had a very short discussion there regarding what do we put into the copyright.
Right.
And I'm not sure if we ever came to a conclusion there. And also, I think I had one remaining question there. And then we also had a question whether we need the authors file itself. And I'm not sure whether we had a conclusion there either.
I would like what we put into the copyright. So what was the remaining question on that front?
So I think what Brian said is copyright notices are not mandatory in order for the contributor to retain ownership of their copyright. So I think what this effectively means is that we can put down whatever we like, but the copyright belongs to whoever it belongs. It's nice for the person looking into the license file, I guess, to know who these people are.
Yeah.
So I guess there is a point of that, mainly for communication. But I think one of the questions there, my particular question is whether we need to put down specific project name contributors, or whether it's enough to just put down the word contributors or Node.js contributors, right? Because at the end of the day, this comes under the Node.js broader organization, which means that we're all kind of Node.js community contributors.
Right, except is there a list of contributors somewhere? Authors, because there is an authors file right in the node repo, right? And I'm just like, that will not include necessarily the people in the PKGS org.
Correct. So yeah, if we link to that file.
Right, I'm just thinking like, though, if you say Node.js contributors, who else, what other list or group would you think that is in the?
I don't know. So my concern there is that this is a maintenance burden that needs to be usually only done once for when the repo is created.
Yep.
However, this is in a broader organization. This is something that needs to be regularly verified, that it is still the case and that all the things are correct and in place, which is a burden. And I would very much like to avoid that burden for people who will come after me.
Yeah, like it would be nice, like as you said, since GitHub tracks things, like it would be nice to potentially just say, now I guess the only challenge is like the GitHub, there's no team that's going to necessarily reflect this.
Yeah, so Jordan suggests that even possibly the unqualified word contributors is potentially good enough. And then we can maybe add a link. Well, if we add a link, then it needs to be a per repository link, unless it links inside the same repository.
I mean,
so if you,
It's basically like if you have a list that's not something that's automatically generated, you've got maintenance somewhere, right?
Let's see. This does have the contributors list. Does it have everybody? Looks like it has everybody. Is there a way to do a generic link to the contributors page that does not have the full URL? However, in that case, if somebody forks, it will link to their contributors thing, but that will also be generated automatically. Which is
right,
even
because
better.
yeah, you're right, because GitHub does generate the contributors. Yeah, I think that seems like a good way to go, because that is automatically maintained for us, right, and is accurate. Yeah, I think that that's basically self-maintaining.
Yep.
So I propose we just use that, and then maybe just CC Brian, you know, when we're for one last opinion.
Yep.
He should just say, yeah, that's fine based on what he said. And
yeah, and then ideally the link can be a generic link that does not need to be updated for each repo. Basically a relative link.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If it's basically one you can just copy the file over and it does the right thing, that would be very good.
Yeah. The link will then not work when you're looking at the license files after you've cloned the repo though.
Okay.
If still, I mean, we can do the relative link as the base thing in whatever template copying thing that people would normally do, and then we can upgrade the link if we choose to do so where we think it matters.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that much trouble to put in one link, right? So
yeah, but it's something to remember when you're copy pasting files, when you're adding a new repository.
Yeah.
When you're scaffolding it out, it's so easy to miss.
Right.
Especially when you have multiple things that you need to do.
I think we could, like you said, we could put the default into the template and with the instructions to upgrade it to the full URL. And then if it's the kind of thing you could fix later, right? If you forget it. And
yeah.
I mean, because the ongoing, I mean, the one-time one, yeah, it's good to reduce that, but also avoiding the having to update the file by using that link is, I think, a really big win.
Yeah, okay, so no authors file, add a link to the GitHub contributors page and just leave the contributors.
You mean in the copyright the contributors?
Copyright, contributors, and a link to
and a link, yeah, right.
To the GitHub contributors page.
That seems reasonable.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions on that one? No? Okay, let's move on to the next one. So the next one is NodeFetch is looking for help, number 360. This one. So John Church opened that. I'm just wondering.
I can add a little context here. This actually dovetails or is related to another agenda item about the Axios outreach. And what I did from our last conversation, I'm going to paste this into the chat. I didn't want to do anything in those issues yet, but I created an issue from our last conversation that just pasted effectively an issue for an issue, but effectively this would be a chance to maybe give us an opportunity to define what a process might look like for what I've dubbed an RFH, a request for help. And in that new issue I made, you'll notice that on Twitter, I found 2 more requests from Lodash and React testing library, probably most famously known for React testing library, but both of them were on Twitter saying, hey, I need help with my packages, I need help with maintenance. And similar to them, the other teams reaching out for via issues, I thought it'd be great if we had something, even if right now it's just like, hey, go to our docs, here's our table of contents. And then as we add like the status board, as we add other tools.
Right.
So basically the proposal is maybe we just add something to the README that's like, are you a package author? How do you get started? Because there's nothing in the README that's actually like actionable. It's how to join, but not necessarily like, because there's, I kind of noticed it in the, not to digress too much, but from the Collab Summit doc that I was reading, it's kind of like we have 2 audiences, I think, and they probably overlap, but we maybe have 2 audiences. We have maybe someone like myself who wants to help the team help other people versus someone who's an actual package author is like, I don't have time to help in a team. I just want whatever the teams come up with and apply it to my project. So maybe this issue is more like if you're in the latter category where I need help managing my project, I don't necessarily have time to contribute to making other projects better. So, so yeah, it's basically an RFH, a request for help process, I suppose, is the simplest distillation. And then if we figure that out, then we can go to those issues and be like, hey, we added something to the README, give this a go. And then here's a way to give us feedback.
Right. Okay.
And then we can also do that with people on Twitter or other chats like, hey, check out this section of our README, So I guess it's more of a discussion on, is there a standard operating procedure we could agree on, even if small, that just builds up over time and at least just get it set in the README as a starting point.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I'm almost wondering if, like, would it be better to try and pull it apart even further by, like, say, having a new repo or something like that that's focused on that other audience?
Maybe. I mean, I think there's I think there's probably a decent amount of overlap between those who are interested in what the team's doing and want to help and could probably extrapolate some of that. I would say maybe if we grow large enough that there's such I guess it's maybe just the monolith versus microservice. Are we big enough?
Are we there yet? Right. Yeah.
Exactly. I think it's similar to just how we took a baby step. Let's just get like a table of contents for our docs. We could at least maybe link to the table of contents from the README.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm not opposed if it kind of, but I think maybe just at least for the discussion part, I guess it'd be curious. Well, I guess it'd be good to know if anybody else has any thoughts on this RFH approach and, having some little actionable set of resources. Basically, because like we had the survey, but that was kind of a very maybe synchronous approach, but people are going to need help very asynchronously. So like I don't know if we're just going to do like a survey every year or if we can do things that people can basically self-serve themselves when they come for us. Yeah,
because I could also see, like, saying if there's a particular area that you think you need more, it would be good to have a best practices doc. Please let us know. Like, we could call out at least a few of those things. And were you thinking of a place that they could like PR in their project as one that's looking for help?
I guess I guess that could be part of it is right. So it's like, so if we go to the README and then we add some sort of section like, getting started or, our resources or something like that, I'd say the first one is a link to the docs, right? Most people don't even know that we have the docs that you're referring to, right?
Yep.
So get that started. Then maybe say like, also we're experimenting with some sort of automation. Here's links to this project and this project.
Yep.
And then I suppose from there, we could also say we have a survey. If you want to open a PR, you can fill out the survey yourself and submit the results back, and then we can just kind of collect them. So there's a kind of a process for giving feedback. Be like, hey, I really love the docs and I really love the tools, but what would be really awesome for me is blah. there's
Right.
maybe, and that kind of just goes back to, is there a process for knowing
Yep.
what's there and then saying it would be great if there was also X, Y, and Z.
But I'm even thinking like the sort of real, the super grand scheme was like, if we could get enough people involved and we could help manage a list of things that, maintainers wanted help with. A first step on that could be just maintaining a list of like, Twitter would be one way of getting that out, but another one would be like, here are the projects that have actually expressed a request for help.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just another place where we could, evangelize a little bit that those, yeah,
we could definitely add a section in that, like in that same section. It's like, if you're looking to help other teams, here's a list of projects that are looking for help. And yeah, teams could then PR themselves into that list, either a separate doc or write in the README, whatever we end up doing. And I think another interesting point, just food for thought on this, as we discussed about in the kind of the Axios issue, is, what are the expectations around this group in terms of help? Like, we're probably not going to be able to come and actually start managing your repo and your pull requests, and your, like, we can help connect you to people who can help you triage. But like, if someone's like, hey, Axios doesn't have a maintainer anymore, is that really actionable for us, other than, well, here's guys, maybe those can fill you out in the, as opposed to like, hey, yeah, we'll steward your project for 3 months until you find a maintainer. That's probably not going to happen. So it's just food for thought. I figure it'd be a good way to kind of aggregate the various issues. And yeah, just kind of similar to the table of contents, just kind of distill it down to one kind of entry point that we can kind of build up and refine over time, that we can just quickly link to anybody in a tweet, a Slack, whatever, be like, hey, start here, and help us fill in the gaps if you don't find what you need through an issue. So what I could do, if it sounds like there's openness to it, I could certainly kick off a PR for by the time we meet next time, just to kind of stub out or scaffold out what that section of the README might look like. And it doesn't have to be a lot just to get it going. And then once that initial inertia is overcome, can just be as easy as another pull request after that for changes and updates. And then I figured what I really want to do is be able to go back to those issues and say, hey, we've got something now. Why don't you start with that? Be able to close it and be like, if you've got something that's missing, open an issue that's, oh, we really, with what we've seen, we still need this, right? As opposed to just, so ideally I'd like to be able to circle back, close those two in favor of this, kind of thing.
Yep, I think that makes a lot of sense to me. I don't know what other people think. I see a thumbs up from Dominicas. So.
Ooh. No one else on video. I can't see if they're giving a thumbs up. Virtual.
I take it as a thumbs up, since no complaint.
Okay, I'll draft that for our next meeting, and yeah.
That sounds great. Thanks. Okay, the next issue is this docs issue 309 governance models, and yeah,
that's also me.
Yeah, go ahead.
This hasn't, well, this one's still similar status. It's just really looking for feedback. I did do a little grammar phrasing tweaking yesterday. Just some of the sentences were a little awkward on revisiting, but I'd say 99% of the content is still intact from that first draft. So if you've already reviewed it, it's really just a little bit in the overview. Otherwise, everything else is still the same. So yeah, just hoping that maybe we get something like that in time for Collab Summit, and really be able to show off those docs as like, hey, here's our first volley for you
Yep.
package authors and kind of do a little reveal. Then, even preview the, I suppose, yeah. When is Collab Summit? Is it July?
It's next week.
Okay.
So it'll be, it's like Monday is the,
yeah.
is the sort of new collaborators day, and then Tuesday, Wednesday is the main conference, and Thursday, Friday is the Collab Summit. And I think it's the, I think it's the, yeah, it's going to be the Thursday where it's like node specific projects.
Right. Okay. I think I commented in the Google Doc that was it Greg that started that? I think. Apologies if I got the name wrong. I dropped a couple links to the governance PR, the table of contents, and I think this issue. So even though they're maybe work in progress, they're still available if we want to showcase any of those elements during the Collab Summit. So it can be up to
Yeah, it would be good to get that landed by then. So
and
let's
if not,
see.
I mean, the PR is there, the content's there, so at least people can see it. We can at least show that there's stuff in progress, so it can work either way, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see. There is a schedule somewhere. I'm trying to find where that is. There's. Okay, I can't find it right now, but yeah, the schedule is out, and so yes, okay.
Okay, well, I left the links in the Google Doc so they can kind of piece that together. Just a quick question. If anybody, unless anybody objects, I was going to take the agenda label off the issue specific help, like the Axios and Node Fetch, take those off the agenda and just leave the top level issue.
That makes sense to me.
And then, okay, yeah, awesome. Cool, thanks.
Okay, so the next one is submit session to Collab Summit. And it was Glenn who's volunteered to work on that. I think with help from Wes. The issue is submitted, and I just would be like to spend maybe one more second looking to see if I can find the actual schedule.
I believe it's a PR in the OpenJS/Summit repo.
Okay, I think I just found it. So this is the link. Let's look at this Scalyx when, so package. Right, so it's currently scheduled for 12 o'clock on the 26th of June. And that's GMT -5. So just so that, there. So I don't think there's too much else to talk about on that front, but anything else that people want to talk on that one or? If not, let's move forward. The next issue is dependence tooling number 327. So Andrew, you'd opened that.
Yep, I'll give a quick update. Okay. So since last meeting, I've opened the PR that had the prototype I demoed in the last meeting. I'm currently working on a very small, quick prototype for the Wibby result function as well, which will return the CI result run. I should have a draft PR open for that today at some point once I've figured out how to get the testing sorted on it. I think that's it for now for the updates since last meeting. unless you want to add anything, Beth.
Just that it's on my to-do list and to review it properly and hopefully get landed. I don't think we need to be too strict on landing things, because if we're still in the prototype phase, we can change it quite drastically without any commitment. So
yeah, I think it's more accessible for people to contribute if we kind of land as we go, even if it's not ready. That way somebody else can, you know, submit a PR versus having to look at a PR. And I don't know what other people think.
Yep. I was going to look into it, and then, yeah, I have some time to spend on it over the next month or so. So I would be happy to help out in any way I can. Should we have a spin-off session to basically dig into some details there and the next steps? And like once the initial PRs land, then it's easier for multiple people to start working on it. But even then, should we try to do some API design before we go ahead and sort of sketch out what are the next steps for it?
I think
yes.
yeah.
So who wants to volunteer to set that up?
I'm just thinking, we've got this OpenJS World session next week. Maybe we'll let that happen, and then we've got the following package maintenance meeting the following Tuesday. So then maybe after then, in terms of timings. So it might be the case we don't need one because we're going to have a couple of hours of meetings before then anyway. Sorry, that's my dog.
Okay.
Chewbacca.
Okay, so basically after OpenJS World, we'll set one up. Does that sound right?
Yeah, and I can, if we still need one to flesh out API design, then sure, I'll go through that.
Okay, anything more we want to talk about on that one? Oh, sorry. Okay, the next one is pkgs.org for WG supported tooling. That one is currently at the point where we work through the governance that we proposed, and there is an issue. Now, actually, there's a related issue, right? The draft governance. So that's 338. And maybe I should just put that in the notes here. And I've submitted a PR to charter the working group in the TSC repo just 1 week ago. So that is in process. So far, just looking for latest. You know, so far there's a couple of approvals. We'll bring it up in the TSC meeting this week to hopefully get a few more, but it's looking, you know, have no expect that it should move forward. Okay, so anything more people want to talk about that one? Okay, so let's move on to the next one, which is next steps on support levels and package JSON. That one, we're just trying to get the tool far enough along. I just need to get back to land the initial PR, rebase the PR I was working on, and then there were a couple more things that we talked about in terms of checking out the output parsing. And then hopefully we'll be pretty close to having what we need to start promoting that. Any other discussion on that one that anybody wants to do? Okay, if not, we're at the end of the regular agenda. Are there any other things that people want to talk about, or?
added this towards the end of yesterday, posting the link for anybody on the stream that's curious. There is some good first issue type items in for our documentation, just reviewing and curating some of our docs that are authored but considered in a draft status. So I created a top level issue to kind of corral them, made the little check boxes. So if anybody would like to help out with that, here or in general, that is there. So
yep.
Yeah,
that's very helpful. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks for doing that.
No problem. So
if we each took one of those, we could probably polish it off pretty quickly. But
yeah, I think so. I mean, I didn't go into each of them in depth, so they're maybe varying degrees of completeness. But I think most of them are probably good enough. Maybe just one final draft as someone submits it to move it out, and just keep improving it from there. I don't think there's any established criteria for what tipped something out of drafts into ready, but maybe it's just more of like a governance thing. Like, yes, this is something we all agree we want to speak as a single voice on, or something like that. Is that formal or not? But yeah, probably some low-hanging fruit. I mean, it's all in the table of contents anyway. I think it's just noted as a draft, but it's a decent chunk of the doc. So but yeah, if we just took one that we liked, we could probably all out soon. So anyway, maybe also something an easy entry point for Collab Summit attendees. Another low-hanging fruit one. So yeah, anyway, just throw that out there just to get a little some eyeballs on it. That's all.
Yep. Yeah, no, definitely. Okay. Yeah, no, thanks, because we have left them there in draft for way too long. So. Okay, any other topics that people want to bring up? I guess if not, why don't we call it for today? Okay, well, thanks for everybody for taking the time, and we'll hopefully see everybody and everybody who's listening on the stream at the Collaborator Summit next week and the OpenGIS World Conference. So looking forward to seeing you all there virtually.
Indeed. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Michael. Bye.
Bye.